Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Big Brother recap. So here's what happened week 2 of Big Brother. So last week, Oliver tried getting rid of 2 targets which he failed on trying. He actually ended up getting rid of one of his friends, I guess, but that person wasn't even active, so that's why there wasn't much about him last week. Now, on week 2, more people started getting involved with this Oliver thing. Caleb won the HOH with his saboteur advantage, and he was able to, win it basically and try to get Oliver out. Caleb is obviously on board of trying to get rid of Oliver. And during the last week, he was able to get 8 people to save him. And those 8 people were also on board of trying to get rid of Oliver this week. So Oliver was the target this week, obviously, and Caleb knew 100% he was gonna get rid of him, but Oliver did not want that. So Oliver, what he did was he tried to speak to Caleb, but Caleb didn't want to really speak to him. So Oliver was like, hey dude, I'm sorry for what happened last week. I feel like I could trust you now because of what has been happening and how you were able to manage to get people, to save you and stuff and do stuff like for him. And Caleb wasn't buying it. He was just like, okay, well, yeah, you did try to get me out, but like, I don't think I'm going to be able to save you this week, because if you went for me and my alliance member last week, then I'm probably going to go after you now, which is, now, during the second week. So that was Caleb's intention of what he wanted to do this week. Now, people like Justice was part of Oliver's alliance. He started getting involved, and same with Scott. Now Scott, his plan was to still work with Oliver and not have him as a target this week, but since he did try to go after Caleb last week, since Scott and Caleb were pretending to not know each other, Scott was like, you know what, do whatever you want, Caleb. I'm just gonna sit down and relax and just see things happen. I'm gonna try to get involved and try to comfort Oliver a little bit so he doesn't think I'm with you or something. But really, Scott was with him, and Scott was just not even trying to help to keep him safe this week. On the other hand, Justice got involved and started speaking to Scott and Caleb. Justice was pretty much just trying to defend Oliver. He was like, hey dude, what are you doing? Why are you trying to get rid of Oliver? Oliver did try to go for you guys last week, Caleb, but he isn't that such a bad of a person. But again, Caleb didn't care. But Justice really didn't even try. He was on for a little bit and then he disappeared. Now, during that week, Scott was getting a little bit afraid that people were finding out that he was working with Caleb. And so Caleb was like, don't worry dude, I don't think that's happening. I think everyone thinks you're just on the other side. But then Charlotte was like, Scott's on the other side, we can't trust him. And same with Violet. It was like, what are you doing? Why are you talking to him? He's part of Oliver's side. But Caleb really knows he's on his side, just his alliance doesn't know that. Scott was still pretending he was on Oliver's side, but really he's on Caleb's side, like I already explained. So Caleb was thinking of nominating Scott and Oliver. Now later on, Oliver came to Caleb and told Caleb, hey dude, you shouldn't put me up, because if you put me up, I'm probably going to win this veto and save myself. Now, Caleb thought of that. He was like, you're right. If I do nominate you, you're going to have a chance of playing in the veto. So then you'll have less of a chance, because Oliver just risked, because if you think of it, Oliver had a better chance of winning veto if he was nominated. Because then if he didn't get nominated, then he had to still wait, because a randomizer was going to either choose him to play in the veto or not. And so if I was Oliver, I wouldn't have said that, because if I would have been nominated, I could have tried to win veto at least, instead of getting randomized to play in the veto. You would have a 100% chance of playing in the veto than by getting randomized. So that's what Oliver did. He told Caleb, if you don't nominate me, then I won't have a chance of playing in the veto, and I probably won't have a chance of winning the veto. Caleb took his word and didn't nominate him. Caleb nominated Kat and Scott. Now, Kat also got involved with this. Kat, was part of that one alliance with Oliver. Scott and Kat asked out Caleb, and Caleb was like, sure, I guess, why not? And then during that week, he nominated her. So I'm not really sure why he did that, but he did nominate her. And his reason was because he feels like he's gonna be getting used, and Kat flipped out. Kat was like, what is your problem? I thought I could trust you, and just a bunch of things started happening. So Caleb was trying to comfort her, but she wasn't really getting it. She wondered why. She asked him out to be his girlfriend on Big Brother, and he just basically backstabbed her. And Kat was just freaking out, and she couldn't really calm herself until she finally did calm herself. Scott, on the other hand, he was just like, okay dude, it's fine, I got this, it's okay. I feel like I'm safe anyways if Oliver's on the block. But Scott was mad that he didn't put up Caleb. Oliver. But Caleb did tell him the thing, and Oliver was like, and Scott was like, okay, sure, I guess he'll have a kind of a short chance of playing in the veto since there is a lot of people. Again, Oliver risked his life. He could have played in this veto, could have won it if he didn't tell him that, because like now he has to go through a randomizer, and what if he doesn't even get chosen, which is what exactly happened. During the choosing for the veto, he did not get chosen, so he did not get a chance of playing in the veto, and everyone was on board of getting rid of him, except for his like 2 friends, I guess, Kat and Justice. But Kat was on the block, so she couldn't really, if she won veto, she was gonna use it on herself, obviously. So then Scott, he was okay with being nominated because he feels like if he gets to play in the veto and he wins the veto, he's gonna have to use it on Oliver, because Oliver is gonna think that he's betraying him, and that's what Scott doesn't want. He doesn't want anyone thinking that he's a traitor and he's just pretending to work with people. He wants to stay on the low side, so he was okay with being nominated, because if he won the veto, he would just be able to save himself, and then of course Oliver would go up as replacement. Now during the veto, as you know, Scott won the power of veto, and it was perfect. Everyone was happy because then he was able to save himself, and Oliver was able to be replacement. So during, after the veto, people started speaking to Scott, like, make sure you use the veto, make sure you use the veto. And then Oliver came in. Oliver told Scott, don't use the veto. And Scott wasn't dumb enough to do that, but Oliver told him, trust me, if you don't use the veto, Kat will go home. And to me, I'm like, you're throwing your alliance member under the bus. They're 2 alliance members on the block, and all you care about is yourself. So basically that's what Caleb was trying to to tell everyone, that he does not care about anyone but himself. And so Scott told Caleb that he tried telling him to not use the veto. Caleb was laughing. He told his alliance all knew, and basically everyone was on board of getting rid of him this week. So then the veto ceremony came. Scott used it on himself, and then of course, as planned, Caleb chose Oliver to be the replacement nominee. Now this week was pretty crazy too, because Violet and Oliver fought again, and Caleb and Oliver fought again, because Oliver was just like, he didn't understand his mistakes of what he did last week that impact him this week. He was still not understanding, and he was like getting involved with fights, and Scott was trying to help him, but he was telling him, dude, just calm down, lay low, and you'll be fine, as long as people don't find you as a target, because you're making yourself look like a bigger target now. Every time you fight, it makes you look like a bigger target. And Oliver was like, fine, I'll just take it easy, don't worry, I'll be fine. And he didn't really listen, because later on he would get into fights again. He would just not listen to Scott, and Scott was just basically trying to help him, but then again not help him, because if he stayed quiet, he wouldn't be able to convince people to save him. Scott told him he had the votes to keep him safe, but Scott was obviously lying. Scott was just trying to hint towards Oliver that you're going home this week, dude. There's no way you can keep yourself safe this week. You're going home. And Oliver was just, he felt like he had the votes to keep himself in the game. But he had no one at the moment. Caleb had everyone. He was controlling the votes. He was controlling the week. He was controlling both week, last week and this week. Now with Justice, Jamie, Justice, those 2 were part of his Oliver's alliance. Those 2 were inactive during this week, so they couldn't even help Oliver. So Oliver was just, giving up. He was just like, fine, but he was still trying to get the votes to keep himself safe. He was still trying to convince the others that Caleb is no good, but no one listened, because Oliver did make mistakes the first week, and they just didn't want to believe him for what he did last week. Caleb was just living the life, feeling free, because he's controlling the weeks this week, and he's just happy. He feels like everyone trusts him now. Everyone can go on with his plans and to get rid of people. And basically, at eviction, by a vote of 8-0, Oliver was evicted from the Big Brother house. And it was the same 8 people that, kept Caleb last week. So it's surprising that those 8 people stuck with their word again and got rid of Oliver. So again, some people didn't vote. I know last time was 8-2, and this time was 8-0. That's because the people who don't vote, their votes won't count, so their votes will be 0. So only 0 people saved Oliver, and there's probably going to be 2 people that would save him again, because there was Justice and Jamie who would save him, but they weren't on, so they couldn't save him. So that's what happened last week. Week 2. Caleb basically threw Oliver on the bus. he was a target. Oliver played bad moves again. He told him not to put him up when he obviously knew he was a target this week and that everyone was against him. I felt like if I was him, I would have played in the veto. I wouldn't mind getting nominated. I would get nominated, win the veto, take myself off, and show Caleb that I'm a good player too. And obviously he just told him not to put him up so he wouldn't have to play in the veto, and he just gave him the idea. So Caleb was like, sure, I'll do that because I don't want you to win veto anyways, and that's what he did, and Oliver didn't get chosen. So then week 3 came in, and the winner of the HOH was Quinn. Now Quinn was just, she was following people, and she just knew the fact that she couldn't trust anyone, because during week 1 and week 2, people were taking screenshots of the messages and sending it to others, and people just stopped doing that. So Quinn knew obviously that she couldn't trust anyone, so she was basically following people. So then Quinn won head of household, and basically, it was week 3, so she didn't want to start blood. So find out next time on what she does, because she obviously doesn't want to start blood or drama. So find out next episode of the Big Brother recap and see what she does for her nominations. And there were still some fights during that week for some reason. So we'll see you later, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.